Hey, so this is the coding teacher, senior engineer at AWS, and today I'm going to talk about the useReducer hook and why it sucks. It's just basically all it's good for is for adding unnecessary complexity and satisfying your mid-level developer urge for bloated code that feels clean for some reason because you just don't know better. And I'm going to go into why, right? So the common argument that I hear in favor of useReducer is that it's common to have multiple states connected to something, a single operation, like fetching data, right? And if there's a successful response, it would be setting, loading false, and then the response data, and then error false. Like it would be setting multiple pieces of state. And this is true, and this indeed is more performant than calling three set state statements like so. So yeah, if you're gonna get an API response, you're gonna do this. You're gonna call three set state statements. That's much worse performance than useReducer, but that's also dumb and wrong, and you shouldn't do it. What you should do instead is design a coherent interface for the state of your components, and then have all the state in a single object. And if you do that, then you're going to be able to manage this multiple state changes very easily with set state, just like this. And you don't need useReducer to get the same performance benefit. In fact, I haven't read the code for useReducer, but I'd be surprised if this wasn't faster than useReducer, because useReducer is a longer call stack of functions. So like this should be marginally faster than useReducer. So this gets at my next, overarching point, right? Like the primary thing to manage in software engineering is complexity. Complexity is the main thing that makes code unmaintainable. Most of what's bad about bad code comes down to complexity one way or another. I'm asserting this premise right now, but like if you want the reasoning behind it, I strongly recommend this book, A Philosophy of Software Design by Dr. Ousterhout. And if you read it, you'll probably find it impossible to disagree with this premise that complexity is the main enemy of good software. Anyway, if you accept that premise, right, I've already proven the point about the fact that the performance benefits are non-existent. They only occur if you compare useReducer to really terrible code. So what do you get out of useReducer? Because software engineering is a matter of trade-offs, right? The answer is you get nothing. And what do you lose? You add some complexity. Even if the complexity that you added is small, if you're getting nothing out of it, that type of bad decision compounds over time. And let me explain what I mean by complexity. You see, the complexity of a code base is directly correlated to the number of interfaces it exposes. So like the number of things it can do, the number of functions, helper functions, classes, components that it has. So the number of things that are concepts within this code base is what Dr. Ousterhout in the book refers to as the number of interfaces. So when you decide to use useReducer, your component no longer has a simple, powerful interface into its own states. Instead, you have two interfaces. You have the component state shape itself and set state, which is the interface into it, and then a made-up reducer interface that you created, where you invented a bunch of little magic words like success or whatever. So that in turn results in another problem described in the book, A Philosophy of Software Design, which is called change amplification. So when you need to add more functionality, you'll typically have to modify three places instead of two. Not always, but typically. Instead of modifying just the component state shape and the set state call to invoke that state shape, or call or calls, you're gonna need to modify the component state shape, the reducer call, and then the reducer itself. Change amplification is very, very bad. And it's what makes code bases difficult to maintain and prone to bugs. At a foundational level, what useReducer is doing is introducing a flawed decoupling, which in turn hurts cohesion. Cohesion is a concept of software engineering that refers to the property of different parts of the same bit of functionality should be close together as possible, should be cohesive. The less cohesion a bit of functionality has, the harder it is to reason about, the harder it is to follow the code, the harder it is to maintain it. If you use useReducer, you're lowering your cohesion. And if you're lowering your cohesion, you better be getting something really good out of it. Like an example is code reuse or performance. Code reuse is by far, like the most common and important and valid reason to reduce cohesion. But useReducer lowers your cohesion and gives you nothing in return. And I'm going to leave you with one last kind of like high-level thought. Even if it did give you performance is never worth the price of complexity unless performance is actually a problem, which is not the case in the vast majority of little SaaS apps that do like 10 re-renders every time the user takes an action. Performance is just flat out not a problem there. So that's all I had to say about the subject. Let me know what you think, if I'm an idiot or if I'm right. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. If you have a good argument for useReducer doing something that I'm not aware about, I'll be happy to learn.